Union Square, beautiful day, and I'm here with Robert. Thanks for coming, Robert.
You're welcome.
And I want to know a little bit more about you, what you've been doing the past few years and what you're doing nowadays.
I'm a lawyer. I work with startup companies, and I came to Silicon Valley in 1986 to go to law school at Stanford Law School. I wanted to do computer law and landed right in the middle of the computer revolution. I bought an Apple Macintosh in 1984 when it first came out.
Very nice. So you're into the tech world since the beginning.
I didn't realize it, but it really was true. My first 2 years of college, I used a manual typewriter. I had a professor who threatened to fail me if I didn't change the ribbon. When the Mac came out, it was such a blessing because now I didn't have to worry about ribbons, I just had to get the printer right.
So you started when you started as a lawyer, you already knew that you were going to work only with startups? Or how did you find it, okay, startup is my thing?
I knew I wanted to work with computers, and I started working with a law firm called Fenwick & West. They incorporated Apple, and they're located right off the campus at Stanford. And I went right into the corporate group where they did startups and venture capital financing, and so I learned the ropes on the job.
Good, good. Nowadays you have your own startup, that's right?
Correct.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about it. What's the name of your startup? What it does nowadays? What is your passion about it?
So I have my own law firm, Law Office of Robert Dellenbach. I opened it in April, and after working 25 years at big law firms, I decided that it was time to cut my commute to 3 minutes and allow me to be at home with my 11-year-old son and do what I passionately love, which is work with startups. And so I have my own startup. I hired my first employee last week.
Must be very exciting to be able
very excited
to hire your first employee. This is a small victory, right?
It's a huge victory for me. The first victory was getting my first check. I have to say, getting the first check from a client was wonderful.
Yeah, that's a validation that the idea is right, that you're in the right path. You have your first customer. This is good. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. It's very exciting.
So it was more a personal reason that you decided to have your own startup. So having your own business, you would be able to balance a little bit more your personal life with professional life. Is that right?
Life kind of dealt me some circumstances that I had to respond to. My wife died 2 years ago, and that left me thinking about what I really wanted to do,
yes,
and also with some responsibilities. Being a single dad is very difficult, and I want to make the most for my son as well as my career, and I've combined the two. I have an office that sits behind his school.
Perfect.
I take him to school, I go to the office, he walks after school to the office, does his homework, we go home, we play basketball or something.
So I can imagine that you must be very happy with the decision that you made.
I am. I miss the big firm. I miss some of the larger transactions. It's really fun to be with smart people and lots of colleagues and be where the action is. But for me, this is where the action is. Working with people who are getting companies off the ground. It's a dream come true.
So you basically had to break with all this corporate world and start your own business. How
Yes.
do you feel about it? Does it feel good?
It feels great. It was quite scary at first to sort of take the leap into the, off the boat into the water, hoping that there's something you can walk on.
Tell me a little bit more about being scared. Like which were your fears? What did you fear about?
So would clients come with me? Could I manage without all the infrastructure? I used to have a team of IT people and support staff and colleagues, and I was wondering how I would be able to manage without that structure.
Okay.
But I've been dealing with entrepreneurs who wear many hats for so long that
That's right.
I bought a whole bunch of hats and now I just wear them as needed.
This is a great metaphor. Like you have to wear all this bunch of hats in the beginning, and that's fine. So now you could pass your one of those hats to your first employee. This is
Yes.
great.
Yes. I also hired a finance person who's a contractor part-time, but that's also one of the smartest things I think I've done. And typically what a smart entrepreneur will do too is, if you have the idea and you can execute, you need somebody to manage the business, or at least help you to that.
Do you always consider yourself an entrepreneur, or you just realized that you were caught by this bug recently?
I've always had the bug. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Even at the law firm, we would start new programs and find technology to try and do things better. Now I get to be one for real.
And how is this experience so far? There were challenges that you have faced that you had to overcome in this past 5 months?
I have been extremely fortunate because I've got very loyal people who came with me. I think I offer something that's needed in the market. And so a lot of it is fortune, but some of it is also planned fortune, in the sense that I knew there was a market for what I was going to do, and I've pursued it in a way that I think the market will carry me. And so even though it's risky, I've tried to eliminate a lot of the risk.
Great. And who inspired you?
So many people have inspired me, from my dad, who was a university president at a small college, to the people at my law firm, and so many entrepreneurs who have done this and risked everything to build their dream.
Have you searched for some sort of mentoring? Have you went after that?
I do. I have a great group of friends and colleagues, and we get together and talk, and I'm fortunate to have many friends, and many friends in many different areas. And the one thing I know is I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
Even though I have my own business, it's a network.
Yes.
And you're part of a microcosm and a universe, and you've got to be able to reach out and tap into the resources that are available around you. You can't do it all yourself.
And are you from here, or you were born and raised somewhere else?
So I grew up in Alaska, which was a very entrepreneurial place in a different way, kind of the last frontier. And I've lived all over the country, but I've always wanted to come to Silicon Valley and do technology. And so
And what do you like the most about Silicon Valley? What do you think it's really special about here?
I love the energy that people have. There's an unparalleled energy here. Things just happen. People are honest for the most part, and it's more about performance than about tenure or artificial barriers. If you do well, you succeed. And the other thing is, you can fail. This is a place where you can afford to fail, and in fact, you have to fail to learn. And
Yes.
I think that's really unique, and it's sort of why this area drives the rest of the economy in some respects.
This is great.
So what I love about Silicon Valley is the energy that's here. There's a creative energy that's unparalleled anywhere in the universe. People bring to bear an enthusiasm and a passion that you don't see in a lot of other places. They want to change the world. You also have a lot of honest people, because you can't cheat and get an algorithm to work. You succeed on the merits, you don't have artificial barriers, and it's just a great environment to be in.
And what motivates you? Like, what makes you wake up every morning and do what you're doing nowadays?
So every morning I wake up thinking that I'm going to find some great new company to help. And what gets me up in the morning is thinking that I'm going to do a financing for a company that will launch their new product, help them achieve their vision, do something to help an entrepreneur create something that'll change the world.
This is good. So your biggest motivation, it's not only the company, but it's to help other startups to succeed. Is that right?
It's really the people, the entrepreneurs, being part of that creative process and part of building something new that's going to be beneficial, something that will change the world, something that will, you'll read about it in the newspaper maybe.
You mentioned before that you were living this corporate environment. You miss it a little bit. How different do you feel working in a corporate environment and now that you have your own startup?
So there's a place for startups in the corporate environment. Startups are the incubator. You need the freedom to think beyond the box and do things that otherwise, if you penciled and papered them out, may not make sense in the corporate environment. But when the idea grows big enough, you need the corporate structure to make it work. So there's really a cycle in Silicon Valley that's wonderful, which is you've got a startup, it struggles, it does well, it becomes corporate, and the corporation allows the idea to be executed on a broad scale. At some point, a lot of the creative people start to feel constrained by the corporate structure. They drop off, they form a new company, and the cycle starts all over again. And so there's this sort of never-ending cycle of innovation that's built in here between the entrepreneur and the corporation. You wouldn't succeed without both of them.
This is amazing. This is really good explanation about this environment, this ecosystem, because not all the companies are startups forever. They become corporate somehow.
Right. I mean, some will go public and become their own corporations. A lot will be acquired. And there's always this ecosystem of innovation and execution. And that's why we have such great companies here.
Can you tell me a little bit more again about how you decided to become an entrepreneur to balance your personal and professional life? This is very interesting. I think it's nice to point out that you became an entrepreneur to have both things. It's good.
So the whole time I was at the big law firms, I worked with software companies, and sometimes I would bring those companies in to try to help us at the law firm. And we tried to innovate within the law firm, and it's the same sort of thing. Innovation is sometimes appreciated, and sometimes it's difficult because of the corporate structure. But some of the best ideas bubbled up and actually happened. When some personal circumstances forced me to step out of the profession for a little while, I had a chance to think about what I really wanted to do when I came back. And so I decided to come back as an entrepreneur, start my own law firm, and work on the other side of the table with the entrepreneurs that I've enjoyed serving for so many years.